Good morning.
Morning.
How are we all doing?
Good.
Okay, let's see. Okay. All right, there we are. So did everybody have a good weekend?
Yep, pretty nice.
Pretty nice? Do
Pretty
anything
nice.
fun?
Nothing fun, just same old routine.
Really?
Story of my life.
Okay. All right, now I'll ask it a different way. Is the routine of your life fun?
Yes.
There
But
we
I
go.
do, yeah, I do enjoy what I do.
Okay.
It's,
All right.
I have a pretty much try to stay on a set schedule so that I maintain a stabilized life.
Okay. And that's there's a lot of validity and good points about doing that, particularly for your longevity, they say.
Correct. Yes.
It's called sanity.
Yeah, definitely, Gene. You got it. No,
Now, wait a minute.
I set an alarm every day.
Yeah.
And so I'm up and dressed and doing things I want to do during the day.
Okay. Yeah. I wonder about that because I set an alarm, to like get up in the morning, stuff like that, or I did for many, many years. It's gotten to the point I don't sleep enough right now to bother to set an alarm. Because if I go to bed anywhere by about 11:30 to midnight,
Mm-hmm.
my eyes instantly open at, either 5 a.m. or a little before.
Okay.
And after that, I can't go back to sleep. So I'm doing stuff. And, it's been that way many, many years for me. So, yeah, I guess, I kind of follow my built-in alarm clock at this point.
Right.
Yeah. So,
Which works just as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what happens when you do your regularity like that, and then you keep looking at the clock every hour, and finally at 4 o'clock you fall asleep? It's very difficult to get up at 6 o'clock.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, but for the most part, I don't seem to have that problem. Occasionally I will, but for the most part, by usually around midnight, my mind is tired enough that I can lay down and go to sleep. So.
If I do physical activity during the day,
yeah,
then I will sleep longer because I'm tired.
Yeah.
I go to bed, and I go to bed around 11 too, but I get up around 8.
Uh-huh. Okay. Yeah, I mean, they've talked a lot about sleep and the importance of sleep, and not everybody is the same.
No.
Yeah, some people.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, some people actually do well on 5 or 6 hours of sleep.
That's
Definitely.
Yeah, and other people really need that 8 to 9 hours. And yeah, at this point in life, my take on it is listen to your body, do what it tells you to do. If you're tired, sleep. If you're hungry, eat. If you're thirsty, drink.
No, you can't. If you're hungry, eat.
Depends on what you eat.
Now you're home too much.
Yeah, I mean, look, going out and buying a 55-gallon drum of Cheetos is probably not going to be considered health food. So,
right.
Yeah, I'd probably, when I say eat, I mean, eat when you're hungry. The problem with most of us is that we don't eat when we're hungry. We eat when we're bored, or we
I
just
get a craving. Get a craving for something.
Yeah, or out of habit.
Yes.
It's like, oh, it's noontime. I need to eat something. Well, maybe not. So anyway, anybody else do anything fun this weekend? Anybody go anywhere?
One more thing on sleep.
Yeah.
If anybody has trouble sleeping past 5:30, I'll have a dog. I'll rent you cheap.
There you go.
Well, I got the dog, and we get up at 6 o'clock, but
Mhm.
that's okay. I won't rent him out. I need him here for my sanity.
My last pet, of which I am now on permanent sabbatical from pets for the rest of my life, just like I am children. Okay. Yeah, I don't plan on having any more of those in my life, ever.
All the best I've heard.
Yeah, but the last pet that I had was a very, very large cat, and I loved him dearly. His name was Bondo, and he was a 35-pound Russian blue cat. Without fail, when it was time for him to eat, if I was asleep in the morning at around about 4 o'clock in the morning, I would find him in the middle of my chest with his nose like right up against mine, and I could just hear him purring, and that would wake me up. And that was his way of saying, it's time to get up and feed me. Yeah, that was his idea of, no, I'm.
Oh, it's better than getting scratched.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's your time to get up and take care of me, So yeah, but yeah, they will set your clock for you,
Yeah,
pets,
built
things
in.
like that. So, but hey, whatever works. Anyway, while you guys, I guess, were kind of hanging out at home, doing the things you were doing, I actually went out in the world on Saturday, okay, for several reasons. One, I took Maria to the airport. She is now in Mexico visiting her family down there. She's going to be down there for a couple of weeks. So I dropped her off at the airport. And then I proceeded to drive to a city in Georgia called LaGrange. Anybody familiar with LaGrange?
Yes, yes.
Oh, yes.
Beautiful
Okay.
place.
Yes, it is. It is. It's. I had not been to LaGrange in
There's lakes,
over,
everything.
yeah,
College
50, about 50 some odd years. My
Wow.
only experience with LaGrange was when I was at Hardaway High School in Columbus. We had a track meet up there one time, and it was kind of a regional track meet. And I went up there, and so I'd only been there the one time and never gone back. And I started talking to a lot of people over the last couple of years, and LaGrange has got a really nice little museum, art museum.
Yes, yes.
They also have a very active art community that's kind of coalesced out there. A lot of interesting people, writers, musicians, visual artists, sculptors, craftsmen like stonemasons, carpenters, things like that. And it's,
They were on PBS.
were they?
Yeah, about 4 or 5 years ago. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They
All right.
spotlight the little town of LaGrange.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I really, I've heard about it. It seems like for the last 3 years, I've gotten a notification from the museum. They have an international, art competition every year out there. And they've sent me stuff for the last 3 years to submit work. I have yet to be able to make the deadline to get anything in there. I don't know why. But, anyway, I headed over to LaGrange after I dropped Maria off at the airport. And I went to LaGrange and spent most of the day over there. And, kind of took a tour of the town. And I kind of want to share, they had a show at the art museum, and it was the LaGrange Arts Alliance. So these are all kind of local artists, okay? And I'm going to kind of just step you through the show and show you a little bit of LaGrange and what they've got over there. It was a good experience. It was a lot of fun. Got to meet a lot of interesting people. you know, in the arts community over there that day, and some real interesting characters as well. So I'm going to share this, and I'm just going to kind of talk a little bit. If you guys have questions or anything, you know, chime right in.
I went to LaGrange more than a decade ago,
Yeah.
to the university there to
Okay.
share with them Educode's soft mathematics system on how they can teach their classes online.
Yeah. Now, is
And
this
so-
is this West? What is it? West Georgia College?
Yeah, it was yes, one of the technical colleges down there.
Right.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I did a full day of a workshop teaching them how to do mathematics and learning online. And the most resistance I got was from the teachers and people that didn't know how to use computers or were afraid of teaching online. And now I look back and say that we were just ahead of our time, because now everybody is scrambling, trying to do what they should have done a long time ago. And
Right.
I feel sorry for them because they had the opportunity to really to be ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
And that was just them, was many other colleges also. And so, because
Yeah.
I went down to the ones down to Xavier down in New Orleans, and some of the other ones in Loyola.
Okay.
So, you know, Chicago, just a lot of them were resistance, but some did come along later after Khan Academy came on board. So,
Right. Well, and you know, it's all a function of time, because at the time it was an idea, but it wasn't a necessity. And now it's becoming more of a necessity. So now people are really acting on it.
it's like toilet paper now. Before you had to educate.
Yep.
And
Or
sanitizer.
learning how to shop online.
Yeah. And I'm just hoping that we'll get our heads together with this climate change before it gets too late. So.
Yeah. That's
But that's another story. Go ahead, Charles. I'm sorry. to interrupt.
Another conversation.
All right.
Yes, it is. We won't go there.
I learned something about you
Let's
today.
go
Yeah,
view the
that's
show.
good.
I'm sorry, Gene.
Let's go view the show.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
Sure.
All
We're
right.
ready.
So here we go. Oh, let's not hit that button. Okay. I keep wanting to go to the end button. I don't know why. Okay. Anyway, so if you're standing on a street corner in LaGrange and you look across the street there, you'll notice that it says experience the arts, right? And then there's a clear sign that there's a pottery studio over there. And if you looked at the side of the building, and let's see, I probably don't have a shot of that. There are 4 studio spaces over there. And they basically, you know, this is kind of like the community arts center. This is not the museum. The museum is actually the building.
White building.
Yeah, the big white building right here. Okay. And I got a little bit of interesting history about that building. Up until, I think they said it was the 90s, it was the jail. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that was LaGrange's jail right there. And then they took it and they got a new jail built somewhere else in town. And they took this building and they converted it to the art museum, right? And it's a beautiful building. They have a beautiful garden planted around it with sculpture and various things. They've got a growing collection of permanent art there. And then they've got 3 different floors of gallery spaces, but really 4 different galleries. One that they house part of their permanent collection in, and then their show space. So
It almost looks like a church front.
It does.
it does kind of, yeah, with the big tower and stuff on it.
Right.
Anyway, this is kind of toward the front entrance, and this is, you know, part of the garden. It's beautifully kept. You know, I like their welcome mat. Man, this thing is enormous. It's a big, you know, welcome mat. And then, you know, you go inside and let's see. thought I had gallery spaces to show, but okay, we're gonna start with artwork. Okay, so this is a sculptural piece. Okay, and you can read the artist's names. This is made out of clay, wood, and paper. And this is a detail. Yeah. This is the whole. Yeah, this is the whole piece.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
That's so cute.
Yeah, and so part of this is clay, part of this is wood. You know, actually carved wood, and then you know, part of it is actual paper. I think she's referring to the paper part is actually being the book, and it is actually a book. And they've taken like two metal rods and drilled and run through the book into this wood platform, right? And this is carved wood up here.
Oh, okay. I thought that was good too.
And then the figure is really the only clay piece that I found, okay? And it looks like it's probably like a low fire clay, kind of like we would use at Benson. And then it's painted with, you know, underglazes. And this is a piece that I thought was really interesting. You know, again, sculptural piece, took a globe, took characters, you know, out of Where the Wild Things Are, which is a children's book for those of you. I don't know if everybody's familiar with that or not. But, you know, it's interesting, you know, putting it in the context of the world and then having, you know, it actually collaged and wrapped onto that surface. I thought it was a good idea. Okay, so this is a mixed media piece, and there were actually a lot of artists in LaGrange who work in a mixed media style. Okay. Now this is kind of like a collage, right? Some of these pieces of paper are, you know, painted and stamped, but this was not painted on the surface. These were all painted separately and then cut out and collaged onto, you know, it's actually it's not a canvas, it's like a panel, like a wood panel. And it's really pretty good size. It's a fairly large piece, but let's zoom in on it. We can do that. See, but these, again, you know, they're all like cut out pieces of paper, you know, and they've used newspaper and, you know, all kinds of different paper and painted over the top of it. And then again, you know, cut it out and collaged it onto, like, this is actually a handwritten, kind of like, looks like an old letter or something. They've just painted, you know, put acrylic paint over it.
Let's do a mermaid, and the sea is the hair.
Yeah. Possibly. That's a, you know, that's a good interpretation of it.
Very beautiful.
Yeah. But yeah,
Good color.
nicely done. A lot of bright color, interesting textures and surfaces. And again, you know, this is an acrylic paint piece. I found this lady's work particularly fascinating and interesting as a mixed media artist. And, you know, I'm going to make an assumption here, which I probably should not, but, you know, I'm going to make the assumption that she's an African-American woman, because in just looking at her pieces and her subject matter.
But the piece before, it just looked like a piece of carpet to me.
Oh, that's
Go back.
beautiful.
Oh, you mean the mermaid piece?
No, the one above.
The one above.
I'm sorry, the one you just showed.
That was just her name and the name of the piece.
Right.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, this is the name tag, and it tells you
Oh,
that
okay. I
it's
was
made
like,
out
what?
of.
That's a piece of carpet. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
It's
It's
just a lot of, I call it wood, but a lot of yarn.
Yeah. Anyway, this particular mixed media piece is made out of paper vellum, which is like a piece of tracing paper, but heavier.
Oh,
Okay. Embroidery, thread, and acrylic. Okay. And I'm assuming she's referring to acrylic paint, not acrylic like the clear acrylic material, right? The plastic. But this is her piece.
Beautiful.
And yeah, it really is. Now, you know, when she uses paint, I'm thinking that she's applying this acrylic paint with an airbrush.
Okay.
And so that's how she's actually painting, you know, these. But she's also, you know, and I thought Lady in particular would be interested in this. She's also making sort of like her own marbled paper. Back
Oh,
here.
okay. Mhm.
That's my next project.
Yeah. But yeah, she's using like marbled paper techniques. You know, this is the vellum. And then these are, I think, vellum as well. But then she's taken the vellum and she's embossed it, okay, by maybe making a mold, like a clay mold that she's fired or something, and then rubbing the vellum down into them, you know, to make it, you know, take that shape. And then she's applying these, you know, together. And again, this is actually, I think, you know, not a real piece of jewelry, but, you know, she's taken like these little metal, you know, links. Yeah.
Mhm.
And, you know, that you would string a bead or a chain on. And she's made, you know, a piece of jewelry that, you know, sits on top of this. Same thing here, you know, kind of similar materials. So
That looks like something that Wanda could do with the string and fabric there.
Yeah. Yeah.
That,
right.
that's screaming Wanda. That's beautiful.
yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, there's, you know, she's using, you know, so many different approaches and combining them into her artwork. And it
Mhm.
reminds me actually of your work, Wanda's work, you know, Bernice's work. You
Yeah.
know, a lot of you who, you know, John, you know, a lot of you who like to use mixed media, you know, I think she would be, you know, a good example of where you could kind of go, you know, with artwork and the possibilities of what you could do and how you can use things. Now, the interesting thing is, you know, with her, usually, you know, with mixed media people, a lot of times they will collage, like the previous piece that we saw, onto a flat surface.
Yeah.
What she's doing is she's creating
Right.
kind of like a shallow box,
Mhm.
right, that fits into the frame. And then her pieces are layered, right? And they don't sit, you know, directly on top of each other. Like this figure is actually kind of cut out and kind of floats above this disc, right? And then this kind of lays over the, you know, over and behind parts of this. And so you get these multiple layers going on, you know, in her work. And that's the thing that I kind of find fascinating about it, is that, you know, you get these multiple layers, and then as you walk past the piece, you know, if you're a little to the left, a little to the right, you really begin to see, you know, the layering of all of that. Okay.
Very nice.
Yeah.
I'm terrible with names, but many years ago, maybe 10, 15 years ago, when I went to the museum, I think it was the same lady. She did flat pieces, and she did not use, what she used mostly was yarns and fabrics and the embroidery threads.
Mhm.
And she did all of the faces and everything in that and glued them down. It was really fascinating. But she started out flat, just like Wanda and Lady, you know. And this, I hadn't seen her work in years, and this is, I think, she's, you know, taken it this far, so much farther.
Beautiful.
Well, now this piece wins the absolute smallest piece of artwork I've
In the
ever
world.
seen. Yeah, that I've ever seen in a museum. Okay, and this is literally this is probably no more than 3 inches wide. Okay, you
Is it
know,
a 5x7 frame or a 3x5 frame?
it's probably a 5x7 frame.
Okay, so it's got to be, yeah, 3x5.
Yeah, this is about 3 inches wide from here to here. And this is actually a watercolor.
Yeah.
So John and all those people who like to work in watercolor. So you
Could
don't,
you enlarge it just a tad?
yeah, I'm going to.
Oh,
Okay.
thank
I'm getting there. Okay, I've got a closer shot.
you. Oh, okay.
But yeah, I wanted to show you that it won
Oh,
third
Beautiful.
place.
Mhm.
And
Beautiful.
yeah, it's just a tiny little piece, but it's really nice.
Yeah.
You know, it was really nicely done piece.
It looks
And,
like Bernice's work
Uh-huh,
with her keys.
a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Now the thing I find interesting, I'm not quite sure what this is all about. Okay, because it's almost like a print mark, like he was doing multiple prints.
Yeah.
Uh,
478.
Yeah, and yet it's labeled, you know, as a watercolor piece. So let's go back. Yeah, see, watercolor on paper.
Yeah.
And so, you know, with watercolors, you don't number them because it's not a.
No, but they
necessarily
might have
a series.
numbered it and then decided to do prints off of it. And sometimes when they put the original in, that mark is on there.
Yeah. Well,
Not good
if they did prints, okay, then what would happen is you would hand number them, okay, and maybe I don't know, you know, maybe this is a Giclée print of an original.
Mhm.
Yeah. You know, I hadn't quite figured that one out yet, but
That couldn't be the date that they did that picture.
No.
No.
no, probably not. I mean, I don't think he did this in
I thought it was
1978.
It's a long time ago.
Well, I think it's 78. Yeah, so I'm thinking it's probably probably not the date. Anyway, kind of a mystery. All right, but still a lovely piece and just tiny. But again, you know, my point is, not everything you do, and not everybody works on a big scale.
Right.
And you can have pieces in a museum that are this small that still have a lot of presence and impact. You know, so you don't necessarily have to work big. If that's, you know, I mean, you work, you know, you kind of work in the environment that you're in and you work with, you know, the tools that you have.
Right.
And, you know, if you have a small space, you know, and you can only produce small pieces, that's okay. It's about the quality of the piece. It's not about the size. Okay.
Charles, you remember Phyllis Hanley was the person who did all the small work in some of the other classes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She was
Well,
very, very good with that.
yeah. Well, she did that for a specific reason, which is she wanted to get 200 paintings under her belt.
Yes.
So she would feel like she knew how to paint, and she was very successful with that. And she did very well with it. And last time I talked to her, which was only a couple of weeks ago, you know, she's actually begun to venture into doing some bigger things now.
Oh, okay.
But she still loves the small paintings.
She did a great job too.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, this is an acrylic painting, and when I saw this, immediately I thought of Naomi. Okay, and you'll see why.
Mhm.
Oh, my favorite.
Yeah.
Oh,
how about
yeah,
that?
Nick.
I
That's
love
you.
Elvis.
Uh-huh. But yeah, I saw this and I said, I got to take a picture of this for Naomi.
Oh, I love it.
Yes.
A lot of people are doing animal portraits like this.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. Now, you know, there's things I like about
5
this,
years or more, at least, maybe
Yeah.
longer.
but you know, there's things I like about this. But then, you know, I have the same criticism of this piece that I would with, you know, what Naomi was kind of doing.
Too much outlining, dark.
Well, it's not paying. You know, he or she is using color, but they're not modifying the value of the
Value.
color
Mhm.
to really fit on the form, to really kind
Yeah.
of create. I mean, it can change color and go back to anything you want to make it, but it still needs to turn that form. And I think it was pretty successful in some of the areas of the face, but then in others, like here, it doesn't translate very well, see? And it flattens it out. And if they would have just modified that orange there just a little bit, it could have just gone around and really made that, you know, face feel like it was really dimensional, okay? But again, you know, it's very similar to what you have been doing. And one thing I do want to point out, even though they used, you know, these pretty strong, intense colors, you know, here on the actual figure itself, look at what they've done in the background. Okay. Now, same colors, but what's the difference?
The
Muted?
value.
Yeah, yeah. They've been just subtly, kind of slightly muted down so that they don't compete, you know, in contrast and in intensity with the colors that are on the face and the figure. Okay.
They
And
put
so,
the colors on in planes too,
pardon?
shapes. I said the colors on the face are put on in shapes of the planes.
Yeah, yeah. Again, you know, even though they've broken it up into the planes of the face, so they didn't address the value issue
Yeah.
with it, and that's kind of where I think it's not so successful. Okay, and they could have, you know, they pulled off a lot of it really nicely, and it's just take it that little bit further. Okay. Okay, so this is his happy place. This is actually one of the paintings that, to me, kind of resonated with me, since I'm kind of in that place right now where I'm looking for my happy place.
Oh, beautiful.
And yeah, I thought that was a pretty. It's not a big painting, but it's pretty striking, and really kind of a lot of fun. So and it's really well painted. It's acrylic. It's an acrylic painting, and it's just, you know, nicely painted. Very kind of painterly, kind of loose. And for those of you who, you know, want to paint like oceans and moving water and stuff like that, you know, I thought that she pulled it off really nicely. You know, really captured kind of the movement of the waves and, you know, the transition of color. Okay.
It reminded me of the painting that Billy Randolph worked on.
Yeah, with the umbrellas.
The lady at the beach, yes.
Right.
Umbrellas, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, similar idea. Okay, so this is an outdoor cathedral, and she had several paintings there, and these are, you know, really very abstract kind of landscapes, and I really like the palette, you know, how she muted down the color and softened it, and, you know, just really kind of nice, interesting shapes and movements, you know, all the way through the painting. So it almost reminds me, when I'm looking at, you know, just the color and the use of color by itself, a little bit about kind of the period of around about 1920 to about 1940 or 50. There were a lot of artists, you know, who were working in this kind of lighter, more luminous color palette like this, and really, you know, doing a lot of very soft sort of feeling paintings. Yeah, this is one of the things I want to get to. Now, this is, yeah, this is the upstairs part of the gallery, okay? And it's bigger, it wraps around to the other side. But, you know, there's Elvis, and as you can see, they had, you know, a fair amount of work. I didn't take everything, you know, I just kind of took the things that really stood out to me, as far as, you know, the work that they were showing there. This is a lithograph. It's boxed in, and I thought it was really well done. Now, LaGrange, in their permanent collection, they seem to have a focus of collecting contemporary African American artists, who are working and producing work now. And so, this is a really nicely done lithograph. And I don't know how many people here know anything about, lithographic printing, but this is a traditional lithograph that's actually done on what they call a litho stone. And so what you're actually doing is you're actually drawing, with a kind of a waxy material, on a soapstone, basically. And it's a large, heavy, probably about 4 or 5 inches thick soapstone. And this is a pretty good sized piece. It's about 18 by 24. Mm-hmm. So it's rather large traditional lithograph. And, as you lay on, this waxy drawing onto your stone, you get to a certain point and you'll ink the stone and, take the excess ink and stuff off of it. And then you'll load it into the printing press, and then you'll run a couple of copies of it and, get a proof to kind of see, how it's working. And then you'll clean the stone and come back and, modify it, add to it, and keep building it until you get, really what you're looking for. So, the printing process on this is kind of tedious and kind of long, and it takes a lot of patience to do this. But it's the end result is, it's a really, really nice piece. And I like the value, the light and shadow, and it looks simple, but it's
Complicated.
Yeah.
Deceptively complicated. I found this, and this is one of the permanent pieces that they have. And this is an oil painting, and it's on paper. And Roanoke, Alabama is probably like 30 or 40 miles from LaGrange. So again, this would be, what would be considered a local artist. And I thought, really appropriate for the time, considering, everything that's going on in life. But, really, really well done, and it's a fairly large piece. It's probably like, a good 30 to 40 inches tall. And here's the whole piece framed. Now, this being an oil painting, again, it was done on paper. And so they're treating it a lot like you would a print or a watercolor, where they're, they've matted it, to put it in the frame. And so, the painting kind of continues under this, a bit. And then they've got a mat on it and a piece of glass over the top of it to protect it. And there's a big difference in working on paper versus a wood panel or a canvas. And the fact is, if you're working on paper, even if it is archival paper, like a good quality watercolor paper or mixed media paper, you're always going to be putting those under glass to protect them, because they're particularly sensitive to the environment. Heat, cold, humidity, they all affect the paper. And
Charles, could you interpret this painting?
no, I would
No?
rather not. No, I just let it be whatever you think it is.
The man in a gas mask.
Yeah, he's wearing a gas mask.
No. He's white and he's dark. What's the meaning? There's a meaning there.
You live in the South.
He has
That's
a
right.
farmer's, he has a
Part of
farmer's
his
tan.
body's tan, the other part is not. He's covered up.
Right.
That's right. It's a farmer's tan.
Yeah. Yeah. He doesn't walk around outdoors very much, you know, with you know, in the buff.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah,
Farmer's tan.
he's a working class guy who keeps his sleeves. He either wears short sleeves or keeps them rolled up, and you know, the parts, you know, get tan that are exposed, and the other parts don't. You know,
oh, I thought there was more meaning to it.
well,
No, it is what it is.
Yeah.
you know, you could add more meaning to it. Come on.
Personally, I would have just glanced at it and just kept on walking.
Oh, daddy-o.
It
No,
does
I'm very
nothing for me.
impressed. You know, this museum is fabulous.
It is. It's an amazing little place. Okay, next
Oh,
piece.
another carpet.
Well, the carpet is actually on the wall.
Oh,
And I actually talked to the director of the museum. They said, yeah, we're going to get an update. We're going to get rid of the carpet on the wall. Okay.
well, they did very good.
Yeah, it didn't bother me.
They really captured the moment.
Okay. Yeah,
All right,
this is, again, is another permanent piece, and again, a print. And again, you know, it's you know, they seem to have a focus of, again, collecting regional, kind of local African American artists, you know, who are working in the area. And you know, really nice, really strong piece.
Nothing pulls my eye in on anything, so I have to actually go kind of around
Mhm.
the painting and glance at everything.
Okay.
Every time I glance over, there's something else to see.
Okay. So what are you seeing?
Oh boy, I mean, I'm getting the feel that it's, I don't know, I feel carnival a little bit, and then I'm seeing something,
Showtime at the Apollo.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I'm seeing
there-
somebody, it looks like in chains, in a chain.
Mm-hmm.
Where's the chain?
Mummies.
Yeah,
It's
here in the center.
Mummies.
In the center, there's a chain?
Yeah, well, it looks like people who are, yeah, in bondage over here. And then you have figures like
Marvin Gaye.
maybe like Marvin Gaye,
Okay.
and you've got, you know, protest signs, and you know, I think it's talking about, you know, an evolution of,
Yes. Yeah.
you
Very
know,
nice.
history, you know.
Mhm.
And
You
so
know where there was a lot of beautiful African art? The last time I went to the Chastain art show,
Mhm.
there was mixed media pieces that were fabulous. And I'm sorry, I took a photo of it. I'm sorry I didn't get the artist
Mhm.
because it was fabulous. It was one of the best things I've seen recently. Very modern, colorful. And the next time Chastain has a show, I bet these local artists will be there. But with Corona, we don't have the show. But the next time Chastain has the show, I bet those artists will be there. It was
Mhm.
magnificent.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, you
so-
never know.
yeah,
But you know, if you're gonna go visit museums and places like that, or you know, attend art shows, and you see pieces that you find particularly inspiring, you know, some people will get out their camera and they'll take a picture of the piece, right? Don't forget to take a picture of the name tag next to it.
that
because
was my mistake.
right. Well, that's
Yeah,
why
you're
I'm
right.
talking
That
about.
was my mistake.
And that way you can always go back and refer to who that artist was, okay, and what, you know, how it was done. Is it a print? Is it a mixed, you know, media piece? Is it a painting? Because that becomes valuable later, you know, when you're going back and, you know, going through and looking at these images, to be able to, you know, get some idea as to what they were really all about, okay. Again, this is another permanent piece of the permanent collection, okay? And called Black Magic Woman, and it's anything but, you know, black and white. It's quite colorful, actually, and it's a lithograph again. But instead of just being a single monotone piece, this is, you know, multicolored. And again, you know, it's real striking, nice composition. real strong contrast. Very different style from some of what we've seen to this point in time. And again, it's very much. How do I want to describe this? There's a tradition, okay, and particularly in the South, and it doesn't seem to happen in the West and the North so much, but there's a very, very strong storytelling element in the tradition of Southern art, all right? And if you look at this piece, it's very much so a primary example of Southern art, when you look at it. And Southern art, not just from the African American community, but also from the Appalachian community and, traditional folk art. And they all have kind of a similar look to them. And they all kind of use, very similar approaches. So it's a combination of images, words that make stories or allude to stories, things like that. So again, it's a beautiful piece, it really is. And again, it's very, very clear, somebody looking at this, where it would, where these traditions would have come from, because it is such a very strong kind of Southern piece. And you find that it's particularly true, like from Virginia all the way down the eastern seaboard and out to like Louisiana, and all the southern states. You find a lot of folk art, being produced that's very similar to this. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so this is a little more.
Most of the pieces from contemporary artists, or is it a variety of different ages? I mean, different periods of time for the
No,
art?
it's all pretty much so contemporary. They're not going back and trying to collect older traditional pieces of art. They're really trying to build a collection that's contemporary to really the 21st century. Okay. You're not going to find anything in their collection that really goes back into the 70s, 80s, and 90s, or any time before that. It's all pretty much so from right at the end of the 20th century into now, and they're actively collecting now. That's so they're getting to know and building relationships with contemporary artists, and they're buying, well, normally what they do is, again, they hold several shows a year. A couple of them are regional, and one of them is international. Okay? And what they'll usually do is they have limited money. And so what they'll do is they'll buy or, do a purchase of something that, won an award, in one of those shows usually. And that's how they're building their collection over the years. And so they'll go out and they'll make like one major purchase a year, out of that international show. But they're really trying to focus, rather than internationally, they're trying to focus regionally, within, the Southeast, and particularly around that LaGrange, Eastern Alabama, Central and Southern Georgia, type of region. Okay. Anyway, this is Cindy's work. And I was kind of impressed with, her work. It doesn't show up here so much, but I really like the surface of her paintings and how she handles the paint. And she's very, very good at paying attention to hard and soft edges, and working, that hard, soft contrast. if you look at this, and this is not a wonderful picture, or a photograph of this painting. I lost a lot of the color and stuff in the flower, but look at the contrast of how she softened everything back here in the background, to the sharp edges of the flowers and,
Please.
the plants and things, in the arrangement. And everything else, it's just taken down just a little bit. It's got that edge softened on it. Even the container, that the arrangement is sitting on has been softened back a bit, so it doesn't compete really with the focal point, which is really the flower itself.
I have a perspective problem.
You have a
with this. Yeah.
Okay.
The angle that the picture, the framed picture in the background,
Yeah.
seems inconsistent with the table
Yeah.
that's in front of that.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's like this back corner of the table seems to be rising up rather
Yes.
than laying down. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's by no means, a perfect painting or anything, but still a nice painting. But yeah, there are issues. Yeah, and also the table here and here are not in the same perspective as the picture frame and things up above.
Right.
Yeah, they
Right.
don't all seem to be going the same horizon line.
I'm going tomorrow. Okay.
But
It's a nice picture.
yeah, it is. It's a nice picture. Okay.
Charles,
yes.
Charles, you would have told us to get all that perspective squared away before we started painting, wouldn't you?
Yes, I would have.
That does the horses, Lynn Jacoda.
That's right. Yes, I probably, because that was done, I'm guessing not as an alla prima painting, but as more of a traditional.
I'm presently in the Fulton County Jail.
This guy right here lives in Columbus, Georgia, or near Columbus, Georgia. I know it.
Yeah. Daddy-o, if you're going to have a conversation.
Oh, excuse me. Somebody's trying to sell me a walker. I'm sorry.
Okay. Well, then
it happens 3 times a day.
Well,
then do it silently.
I'm sorry. I had to. I don't know. You guys want to listen to this guy cry when I'm finished?
No.
No. Mute yourself out.
That is so funny.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, this I think. Did it get an honorable mention, or it's a pastel?
Yeah,
isn't it?
got an honorable mention on that one.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So it's a pastel, and
Yeah.
it's a fairly large piece.
Yes,
it's really nicely done.
He usually goes to the Kentucky Derby and does work out there.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
I mean,
over. Thank you.
I think it's a really nice painting. It gets a little iffy around the muscles and things in this neck right here.
Mm-hmm.
But beautifully rendered head, and it's got the landscape and everything else working in the painting itself. So let's see. Okay, which way? Yeah, this now this guy actually, not for this painting, but he won Best of Show, and you'll see the painting that won Best of Show, and he does contemporary urban scenes, more or less kind of around the range. This is,
read that. Is that an oil?
I think he's working maybe in oil. No, this is acrylic.
Acrylic on wood panel. Okay.
Yeah. And he's working on a wood panel that's been like really heavily gessoed, and there's a kind of an underlying, brushy texture to the surface, of the panel he's working on.
Right.
So these look, very painterly, and he's really layering quite a bit of paint. He's not holding back. He's really laying some nice, thick, kind of buttery surfaces of paint on there. and you know, really nicely done. You know, the subject matter doesn't particularly inspire me or anything, but you know, he seems to like these, again, you know, kind of urban, kind of contemporary scenes around LaGrange. You know, he's a local artist, and I had a conversation with a guy who was a collector, you know, in the LaGrange area, and he knows him personally and is friends with him. And the way he described him was, yeah, you know, he's trying to be a really serious artist. And it's like, oh, okay, that's a way of describing it. Anyway, this is the, again, the other side of the upper gallery. See, we haven't even gotten down to the lower floor. And this place is not, it's not huge or anything, you know, but it's pretty good sized space. There are some of the pieces you saw right in the corner. And the lighting and everything in there is really nicely done. You know, nobody cut any corners, you know, on this renovation of this place. There's the stairway up from the lower level up to the floor we were just on. This is again, this is like the lower gallery, just as you go in. And again, you know, these are local artists. Good variety of work. You know, you've got, you know, high and low relief pieces here. You've got, you know, mixed media pieces, paintings, you know, all kinds of different things. Let's see. Again, now this is the same guy, and this is the piece that won Best of Show. Yeah. And that's a gas station right there in LaGrange. You know,
You get off the highway.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's on a rainy night, and so there's water and reflections, things, and you know,
A modern day Edward Hopper.
kind of, yeah. You know, again, you know, I don't find the subject matter particularly inspiring, but you know, I like the way he's approaching using the paint and you know, being very painterly with it, and you know, he's dealing with, you know, reflection and refraction of light. You know, he's taking on a lot of stuff here. And he's certainly not afraid to get in there and start, you know, moving some paint around. You know, I'd kind of like to get together with him sometime, you know, have a cup of coffee or a beer and, you know, just talk about painting. I think, you know, it'd be kind of an interesting conversation. But, you know, really, you know, all of his work is really presented, you know, very nice, nicely done. You know, I was kind of impressed by, this is, again, not a very large piece. And just, yeah, this is acrylic, okay? And it's, again, it's acrylic, it's done on paper. So again, it's put under glass. And if I were gonna do something like this in acrylic, I would do it on a wood panel. I would do it on, you know, a canvas, anything, but I wouldn't do it on paper because I think the frame in this case kind of distracts from it, and I would rather see it, you know, just on its own. It's a really nice contemporary approach to painting landscape. You know, it's borderline abstract. So, but really nice handling of color and shapes. Interesting little thing. And then here's Victoria again, and this piece. Maybe it's not this piece. Okay, this is another one of her pieces. I don't think this won. She won an award. I think she took like first place in the show, and then this guy Steve Close took best of show. But again, you know, using a lot of the same approach, using same materials, you know, vellum. She's using airbrush on a heavy like Bristol board or paper stock. She's creating these papers with this metallic kind of almost like marble paper effect in them. Yeah, I thought this was a really interesting piece. Lady, here you go. Take a look.
Okay. Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
that's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Poured painting.
Beautiful.
Really interesting surfaces and textures, and really nice the way the color is kind of floated together and reacting with each other.
That's a poured piece there.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're using a metallic kind of gold with other color, and I'm assuming it was probably poured over kind of a dark or a black surface. But really.
Is that acrylic?
Uh-huh.
Is that acrylic, Sean?
It is, yeah. It's an acrylic piece. Yeah, acrylic.
What is that entitled?
Pardon?
I was wondering what was the title of it. Thank you.
Oh, and so it begins. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is the title. Okay. This is a sculptural piece. Stoneware clay. Well, it's actually a piece of pottery, but it's very sculptural as well. Daddy-o, you might want to take a look at this. Really nice glazes and surfaces, on this piece, and that's all clay. None of it is actual metal or anything like that. It's actually clay rings that they put together along with the pot itself, and it added a lot of interest to it. It was a really lovely piece. This is a series of work by a lady, Christy Cannon, and she has 3 paintings, and they're all titled Garbaggio, and you'll soon see why. Okay. And so what she's doing is, she's doing these florals, and she was the same lady who had the perspective problem with the table, the still life. But here she's using these discarded, cans, like this is Spam. She's got one that's like, so this is canned ham, and then let's see, she's got one that's like a, let's see, roast beets, perfectly normal. This I thought was like a tuna can, something like that.
Looked like it was supposed to be roast beef or something on there.
Yeah, well, again, she's the person who did the globe with where the wild things are.
Mm.
So it kind of ties back into that storyline, I guess. Yeah, somebody have a question? Okay. All right. Interesting piece, this one. Same person who did Elvis.
Oh, see, I like that.
Yeah, doing a flamingo. Yes, I somehow knew that you would like that one. Yeah. Now this took 2nd place, and she did a lovely job. Very painterly application to these hydrangea. Here's the whole painting.
Very pretty.
Yeah. But again, the strong thing here is, it's nice the way she painted it, but look at the value and look at the composition.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people would just take the approach of, okay, I'm going to put this vase and I'm going to float it out there in the middle of the canvas and I'm going to do, the whole arrangement of hydrangeas. What she did is, she cut off about half the pot and off the top. And so she's got, the flowers, which are really the focal point, coming in from the upper right-hand corner. into the composition. And then it's almost like she repeated the blue and white, pattern, on the vase itself, and enlarged it and put it in the background, but, muted it down again. So, it seems a lot more thought out and a lot more designed than, you might initially, have the impression of. So, okay, Winter Woods is an acrylic on canvas. So, and again, very kind of abstracted, very simplified, but a very different use of color. I mean, it would have been, a lot of people would have thrown a lot of green and brown and stuff in there. This is all very cool palette. She's letting a lot of the original canvas show through the surface, in the lighter areas. So she didn't, really feel like she had to cover and paint everything. It was kind of the contrast between the painted surface and the actual material that's painted on. Very nicely done. Again, described as a very serious artist, in the area. Okay. It's kind of reminiscent of some of the things that I like to do. These landscapes with, old buildings and things. And so, really nicely done. Again, for, let's see, John. Okay, are you here?
Yes, I'm here. Trying to find my place unmuted. Yes.
Okay.
I agree.
All
Definitely.
right. Again, look at what they did in the background here, how they softened down and muted this, all of the greens back in here. And then this gets pretty intense right in there. And for some reason, this is not as intense. And I would probably try to change that. I would probably try to pick up the intensity here, to bring that forward or do something,
Looks
add
like the
more
building is in
texture.
the middle.
Pardon?
Like the building is directly in the middle of the piece.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I wouldn't give this an award on composition. But yeah, he kind of stuck it, right dead center. And I probably, again, would have moved it off a little to the left. Yeah, probably a little to the right, actually. Yeah, so that you kind of lead in and kind of end with this.
Yeah, that's what I'm struggling with, the foreground, middle ground, background.
Right, yeah.
I sent you another update yesterday.
Yeah, I got that. Yeah.
Charles, this is Bob. You mentioned you like these old buildings.
Yeah.
Have you been to Life Universities? They have, when I was working there, remember years ago, they had a bunch of old buildings that they brought in. They tore down and rebuilt them in that area. They've got a mill, a grist mill, and a number of old buildings. If you've not been there, you might be interested in taking a run over there.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually very close to me. I've never been on their campus, So, but yeah, thanks for that. I'll go check it out. Now this piece was an interesting piece because it's off of, I think it's a German opera from around the 20s or whatever. But I think they did an old black and white film that was a silent subtitled film from that period. And so, this artist basically took the character and they're kind of doing, I want to say that they're trying to kind of emulate Gustav Klimt a little bit. So, but I thought it was kind of an interesting piece. It was definitely different than anything else that was there. Again, this is, we saw one of her pieces earlier. This is another clay piece. And I'm gonna blow this up. Now, my brother saw this photograph, and the thing he loved was the painting in the background. he was like, oh, I want that painting. But the interesting thing about this figure is it's very simplified, but I really like the surface, you know, the glaze on it. You know, it's this really, really nice kind of mottled glaze on the surface of the clay. And they've got it just on the figure itself, and then they've switched glazes or finishes, you know, for the base and the pedestal. And it's really a nice contrast, you know, between the two. You know, again, this is part of the downstairs gallery space. Yeah. And yes, okay, this is the first place piece, and I wanted to get to this. You know, again, you know, same woman, you know, Victoria, you know, working same kind of, you know, basic processes, but to me, you know, this particular piece is really, really strong. I mean, it's got, you know, there's something about her expression and movement, attitude, that I find really, really nicely. And she's carried it not only through the piece here, but also into the background. You know, with it's this kind of abstract, you know, color field back there, but it's got a lot of movement and stuff in the background.
I like the simplicity of this one. This is really nice.
Yeah, it's beautifully done. I mean, it's really beautifully done. And this is actually, I think, a bit larger than the other two pieces that we've seen by her. But everything she had in that show was really, really nicely done. It's impressive. And I really like her work a lot. But yeah, and see, this is like embroidery yarn that's been stitched into that vellum. Same thing here, you know, actually into the paper.
You said the painting is airbrush?
Yeah, the painting part here is, yeah, that's got to be airbrush. And, you know, she went back in with kind of a fine brush and did some outlining and stuff like that. But for the most part, it's pretty much so airbrush work. There's, you know, from inside the lower floor in the gallery looking out, you know, toward the garden again. Yeah, that's the lower gallery. Stairwell. Again, you know, just the gallery as you kind of go into it. And then, you know, here's going down to the lower gallery. It's only like, you know, a half a level down. So, but
looks like they preserved some of that parquet floor or got it from someplace.
yeah, I don't know how old or whatever, you know, any of that is, but yeah, they did a really fabulous job on, you know, going back in and renovating that.
Yes.
Turning it from a jail into an art museum.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it's really clear, you know, in just, you know, walking through the space and looking at how they kind of laid that out. It was very well planned. It was very well laid out, and they're very well supported locally. So, you know, the local government and they get a lot of their money from the Callaway Foundation, from Callaway Garden.
Okay.
But not from the garden, from the Callaway Foundation. The Callaways are a family, and you know, they have other businesses and things. But this is the part of the foundation that's not really associated with Callaway Garden. It's just the same family. Okay. But the Callaway Foundation is fairly local in that area, and they seem to be real instrumental. They're fairly major art collectors of contemporary art, and they're fairly active in all of West Georgia, all the way from say like Rockmart all the way down to Columbus. And there seems to be a pretty strong network of different art communities. Pardon me. The different art communities that sort of interact and work together, and put on shows, things like that. So it's an interesting little environment out there. Like I said, I hadn't been to LaGrange in a very long time, but I was impressed, with what they were doing out there. And it would be, when you guys get to a point where, you might want to do a little traveling or something, it'd be well worth heading that way for a day and, kind of checking it out. There's some fun stuff happening over there. Okay. Anyhow, we are well over our time now. Okay. But that doesn't really matter. But we will be back here at 2 o'clock. I've gotten, a fair amount of work from you guys, and we're going to talk about this art challenge thing that I sent you. And I'm going to give you some updates on, what some people are doing and kind of the directions they're heading. And I would encourage all of you to send me some work. Even if you're working on something in progress and it's not finished, go ahead and take a photograph or whatever and send it in. And that way we can kind of talk about it. And you might get, some good feedback and some ideas about, what you're doing. Okay.
Did you get any pieces that I sent you again because you didn't get them before?
I think I did, and okay. I think I had them in the mix on Friday, yeah. But I think I also probably have them in the mix today too. Okay.
Okay.
So, all right. With that happy note.
See you too.
Go have a good lunch. Yes, we will see you at 2 o'clock. Okay.
This was great.
I'm glad.
I felt like I got out of my house and I went to the museum. This was fabulous.
Well, that was kind of the idea.
Yes, it was fabulous.
I enjoyed it too.
All right. You guys take care. I'll see you at 2 o'clock. Okay.